Alright. Today, the third lecture notes is posted in the KU sites. It's about the persuasion. One of the important concepts when you talk about media effects, you remember the slide, actually three actors. It's kind of a triangle I drew already in the class. It's public and governments and media, right? Three important actors in our society. One of the three actors is media, right? So media provide information, for governments and peoples. So this class is actually about the relationships, media and governments, and media and public. So it's one of the important concepts we have to learn today is the persuasion. So media try to persuade peoples. Media try to persuade customers. Media try to the government to change policies. The people try to persuade governments. Governments try to persuade to change the people's beliefs. So always the communication process is related to is a process of persuasion. So today I'll give you a lecture about the persuasion, okay? Persuasion. And then I'll give you roughly review two chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2 of our reading packets. Okay? All right, why don't you come to the persuasion slides right here and further lecture notes. Why don't you start with the definitions. Definitions right here. The being persuaded applied to situations where behavior has been modified by symbolic transactions that could be sometimes indirectly coercive and appeal to reason and emotions of the persons. It's kind of a very dictionary definitions about persuasion process, but what I'm talking today is actually media try to persuade means the people being persuaded. It's kind of a back and forth. And in terms of the right here attitude shaping and the attitude conversion, is attitude conversion related to attitude change actually. Attitude change for for example, A to attitude change to B. And attitude reinforcements. If you read chapter 2, actually models of the media effect, it's actually media effect is related to different levels. I want to say it again, knowledge levels and attitude and behavior, right? I said that more deep media impact from the analogy and attitude and behavior. And if you read chapter 1 and chapter 2, knowledge levels and attitude and behavior, that's actually macro levels, more broad levels. So a lot of studies actually doesn't say knowledge is an important part of the media effects. A lot of studies are more focused on the attitude and behavior. So today persuasion is not a focus on knowledge levels. Persuasion more focus on attitude, and finally, ultimate goal is actually behavior change and certain actions like purchasing or buying products, or certain behavior change is actually ultimate goal of the media. So today, more focus on attitude and behaviors. So in terms of attitude, right here, three possible attitude change, attitude media impact and media effects in the process of the persuading, attitude shaping, attitude conversion, and attitude reinforcement. You know what? Reinforcement is like keeping existing beliefs and attitude with more strong levels. Attitude conversion is actually change from the one point to the other points, the other view, from one view to the other views. And attitude shaping doesn't care about conversion and reinforcement, but shaping means elaborating and a little, the change, not really in terms of level of attitude, a little, sometimes change or sometimes reinforcement, but not a final levels. It's a little bit. First, some levels. So attitude shaping is a little light, and conversion and reinforcement is like a more in-depth media effect in terms of the process of persuasions. So that's actually when we talk about persuasions, it's like related to attitude, and in other words, attitude is like beliefs. Beliefs is not same of the knowledge, but belief is not correctly same of the attitude. So a lot of scholars actually focus on belief is a certain middle ground between knowledge level and a certain attitude. So belief is part of the media effect sometimes. So attitude definitions of person general evaluation on objects and one's predispositions toward things. Beliefs, statements that people assume to be true. So not correctly same, but not correctly different. It's a certain middle ground between. A lot of people actually, when they process information from the media, they know certain things. They know news stories, and then they build their beliefs based on the information, based on the news stories, and then accumulated beliefs sometimes make a certain attitude, and finally attitude usually guiding a way of the behavior, how they behave. So we can predict based on the knowing, knowledge, beliefs, and attitude, we can predict the behaviors. So just to memorize, when you talk about media effects, that's not just a very simple one. It's related to complexity of the measurements. Knowledge, beliefs, attitude, and sometimes problem solutions, sometimes also, in terms of attitude, a lot of studies done about different levels in only one concept, attitude too. So many different measurements to discuss of the media effects. So in this class, I suggest that we just memorize that when we talk about media effect, that's not a simple, sentence. That's a lot of variable and a lot of concepts is going together. Okay, going together. So we have to know that. Okay, another one. 3 components, 3 elements of the attitude right here. Affective, And cognitive behavior, cognitive attitude, and behavioral attitude. In terms of attitude, also three components, three dimensions. So affective attitude means feeling, like emotional things. I like him. I like that news. I dislike that. More, emotional, not logical things or linguistic things. So more sense, more sense-oriented, the effects. That's what we call the affective, attitude. Cognitive attitude is more related to right here, brain. If affective is more related to right here, okay, right here, chest, mind, mindsets. Cognitive is more related to knowing, explanations, languages, logics. I like him, one of the presidential election candidates in Korea, An Chol-soo. I like him. I just give examples. I'm not expressing my political. I'm just telling just examples. What? I like An Chol-soo is one of the presidential election candidate in Korea. But in terms of cognitive, I have a different attitude about his position on the relations between South and North Korea, for example. That's, the relations between South and North Korea is not actually affective issues. It's more like logical issues, more, the political issues, right? So sometimes effect is, it's not going, simultaneously, but sometimes going together. You can divide affective effects or cognitive effects and behavioral effects. So when you talk about attitude levels, right there, most of the time third levels, right? Knowledge, beliefs, and attitude and behavior. In there are three more dimensions, affective and cognitive and behaviors. Why I, teaching this, if you read chapter 1 and chapter 2, so many different media effects, actually right here. If you read very carefully chapter 1 and chapter 2, I think it's finished up all things about the media effects. A lot of concepts, a lot of theories, and a lot of models already, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So to understand that very carefully, chapter 1 and chapter 2, probably you have to know a certain complexity of when you explain the media effect, okay? Okay, anyway, based on the attitude, why don't you come to the chapter 2, right here? The reading title of chapter 2, models of the media effects. Models of the media effects. Page number 51. Page number 51. The table 2.1 is a summary of the four different models of the media effects. This is actually one of the examples of the media effect models. But anyway, according to textbook, models of the media effects, right here, first columns, actually four different models, direct models, and conditional models, and cumulative models, and cognitive transactional models. And then these authors actually add another dimensions. Models of media effects will focus on media contents and audience. So 2 different levels. So in totals, 2 by 4, right? 2 by 4. So 8 different actually approaches right here. 8 different approaches, and he explained right here. I think it's a very, interesting and very informative tables and summaries of the media effects. The one things I can recognize from the tables, there are 3 sections. 3 sections actually explain not relevant right here. You see that? Not relevant. Very first row, direct models and their audience variables, right? What this means? Direct model, most of the direct models focus on only media contents. They don't care about audience. You remember that? The powerful models and bullet theories, when I explained the very first phase of the media effect, early 20th centuries, 1910 and 1920. Essentially model is one of the direct models. They don't care about audience. They don't care about peoples. They always care about media themselves, media contents, right? So that's why right here, these tables, not relevant means direct models doesn't care about the audience. If so, direct models care about salience. You know what salience, the concept of the salience? Salience means importance. Importance and arousal and realism. So direct models actually examine importance of the media contents. In other words, importance of the media agenda. And any arousal, any reactions, and the reality of the media contents. So direct model examine that kind of things, and then they don't pay any particular attention on the people's variable and audience variables. So in terms of the explanation, I gave example of the models last time, and the bullet theory and propaganda models and essential models by Laswell, and mathematical models by Shannon and Weavers. Those are direct models right here. Okay? And what about the conditional models, conditional approaches? Conditional approaches, vice versa, they are focused on people's variable, users' variable, audience variables, rather than media aspects. That's really, opposite side, exactly opposite side of the direct models, right? So media contents variables are not relevant for the conditional models. Conditional models actually examine right there audience variables like social categories and social relationships, individual differences. Social categories include genders and social status such as education levels and income levels and races or social classes and occupations. political orientations. You know what? Media effects, anyway, media effect depends on those kind of the audience variable, people's variables, right? That's conditional models. What about social relationships? Media effect depends on, relationships among peoples, relationship with the governments. So relationship, the level of relationship is one of the important the variables for the conditional models or conditional approaches. Okay, as a conditional models is actually one of the examples. Actually, I gave you example last time. It's like uses and clarification theories. Uses and clarification theories. I never heard about uses and clarification theory, but it looks like that. But uses and clarification theory. L.U. Katz, you remember him? L.U. Katz, uses and clarification theory is actually asking that we don't have to ask how media report. We have to ask how people use media. Not actually what media reports. We need to focus on how media use and how people use media news stories, media contents. So the focus of study from the media to the peoples, that's actually contribution of the L.U. Katz. His theory is actually we call uses and clarification theories, right? That's one of the, right here, second approach is conditional models. Uses and clarification theories. All right. Direct models, actual bullet theory and propaganda theories, and conditionals, that's probably uses and clarification theories. And then, cumulative models. Cumulative model is actually focused on, if you read the chapter 2, probably more focus on long-term effects, cumulative, right? Not rather than short terms, long-term effects and right here, macro levels, not just the micro levels. They say, hey, knowing is a part of the effects in terms of broad views. So cumulative effects is actually focus on macro level of the effects and long-term effects, including unintentional effects and sleeping effects. Unintentional effect and sleeping effects. According to chapter 2, there are a lot of description about intentional versus and unintentional, right? And short-term versus long-terms. So that's actually the models based on the cumulative approaches. You know what? Cumulative approaches actually very similar with the direct effect. But cumulative include not only of the direct effect assumption and but also indirect, long terms, and sleeping. More micro, not only micro and more macro level of the effects. That's actually cumulative models and approaches. So still, audience variable is not relevant for the cumulative approaches and models. Right there. And the chapter 2 actually summarized one of the very last models, cognitive transactional. Cognitive transactional more focus on a certain complexity of the human beings' cognitive issues, cognitive reactions based on the media use. So right here, cognitive transaction more focus on media contents levels, the salience of the visual cues. So cognitive transaction is more recent and more updated communication approaches and models. A lot of media effect theories based on cognitive actually today. You know what? One of the theories actually I gave you is pilot silence, and the third person effects. Those kind of actually based on cognitive transactional approaches. Okay, this table is just well summarized tables of the a lot of information of the chapter 2. And even though, why don't back to the chapter 2. It's better to back to the chapter 1. Page number 17. Page number 17, chapter 1. Why don't you remember and read a little carefully ways to conceptualize media effects. That's the questions actually related to the tables actually the answers. So dimensions of the media effect right here. Cognitive, affective, and behavioral dimensions. It's the same descriptions of my lectures right here. So please read anyway. And next page is page 18. Micro levels, media effects, and macro levels, media effects. You have to know what are the differences between micro levels and macro levels. I'm not reading every line of the description right here. That's your part of the responsibility. Please read, okay? Easy to understand, easy to understand, and easy to get the key idea, main ideas from chapter. I'm not repeating every concepts. So I just give you a lecture about big picture, and then you have to memorize small things of the key concepts from the chapters. And then page number 19 is one of the dimensions, intentional versus unintentional. Intentional versus an unintentional. It's also important division or categories of the media effects. Page number 20 is the same thing, content dependence and content relevance. So content relevant means user dependent or audience dependent, right? Audience dependent. You got a sense from the tables already about that. User dependence and content dependence. And page number 21, short-term effects versus and long-term effects. Short-term versus and long-terms. One of the examples, the long-term effects, it's unconscious, we say unconscious effect. It's like somebody experimental actually in movie slides. You know what? Movie is actually 1 second of the motion pictures is composed how many pictures? Do you know that? How many pictures continuously moving? It's 1 second. It looks like motion pictures. Yeah, 24 frames. We say 24 frames. But if you have more than 24, that's great reality. But if less than 24, it's like a little awkward motion pictures. But anyway, 16 to 24 motion picture frame is actually only 1 second movies, okay? If somebody actually did the experiment, put the one frame, only one frame in among the 24 Coca-Cola and popcorns, we cannot recognize as Coke advertisement in the part of the motion pictures in only 1 second, 24 frames. We cannot recognize that, but unconsciously we receiving information, Coca-Cola information advertising from the 24 frames. You make sense? Okay, we expose that kind of movies, that kind of motion pictures quite a long time. They prefer Coke. They prefer Coca-Colas to Pepsi or other types of drinks. That's actually, we say, very cumulative and long-term and unconscious sleeping effect. That's one of the examples. Okay, make sense? All right. That's very long-term effects. That's part of the examples of the experimenters. And reinforcement versus change. Reinforcement versus change. That's part of the dimensions. Somebody did experimental studies, actually tried to showing the smoking is so bad. Smoking is really horrible things. Smoking causes lung cancers. But smokers selectively expose that campaigns. They don't like that. They intentionally avoid the non-smoking public campaigns. You know what this means? That's actually media play as part of the reinforcement channels. They don't care about that. They don't believe media reporting. They believe they receive the new media contents in a way they believe. They receive only media contents which is same positions of the certain issues. You make sense? That's reinforcement. That's reinforcement. Do you believe the people is more likely to reinforce media contents, or people change their behavior based on their new information of their media contents? That's actually, nobody knows about that. It depends on, but still half and half. Findings support reinforcement, function of the media, change of the beliefs of the, that's part of the, media functions. So we have to know both, okay? We have to know both. Media sometimes doing reinforcement. Media sometimes doing change people's beliefs, change people's attitude, change people's behavior. Elaboration likelihood models. This is very important models when you talk about persuasion. And also very strong, persuasion models in communications. ELM models. We say just ELM models. or ELM, just the, elaboration likely models. We shortly, called ELM. I'll ask this in the final exam. Okay, I'll give you sometimes, this kind of notes, this kind of messages to make you recognize very important part of their class. ELM models is very important, the theories in media effects. So persuasion is largely a function of the likelihood that receivers will engage in elaboration of the persuasive messages. Who suggest these models? Patty and Cacioppo. Oh, it's hard to memorize, right? Patty and Cacioppo. Anyway, at least, why don't you memorize them? The Patty and Cacioppo suggest ELM. Okay, Patty and Cacioppo. The concept of the elaboration is important, so right here, elaborations. So, issue-relevant thinking. This is really true. The people tend to not receive 100%, not receive 100% of the new informations. They steadily and little by little receive new information based on their already existing beliefs and attitudes and knowledge. And then, little by little, steadily, accumulatively, they elaborate, shaping. Elaboration is very similar in terms of shaping. Elaborate of the new coming informations. Little by little, day by day, or week by week. And then, that kind of accumulation is make your solid knowledge, and then eventually, later, change your attitude and change your behaviors. So there is no just a one-shot attitude change and one-shot behavior change. That's really long-term, cumulative, and it's kind of a process of elaboration of the new coming information, and then eventually, possibly later, you can change your attitude and behaviors. Based on that assumptions, Perry and Cacioppo suggest these models. It's called the ELM, okay? ELM models. You have to remember this too. It's important factor of the ELM models. It's right here, central root and peripheral roots. Central roots and peripheral roots means new informations coming right here, and then going through the information process, we call the process, and then right here, eventually attitude or behavior change is the eventual goal of the media effect, right? So new information go through the processing, and then eventually attitude and behavior change. In terms of this kind of process, ELM models is actually focused on right here. This is the central roots. This is the central roots. And indirect roots coexist with the central roots. That's actually we call peripheral roots. So, how we divide new information going through the central roots, sometimes going through the peripheral roots. That depends on quality of the information and orientation of the each individuals. Most of the time, Perry and Cassiopo suggest that central roots is actually focused on informations, knowledge and informations, logics. Peripheral roots is actually related to emotions. Okay. When we know new products by the TV, TV advertisements, and then we have to decide whether we buy or purchase new products. So we have new information about new products, and then behavior change is actually buying or purchasing the new products. To decide attitude and behavior change, new information about new products going through our brain, we receive new information. If you are oriented to the central roots, probably you focus on what kind of elements of the information, like, how much cost to buy that, and quality, and really informative knowledge. And how well it works, what kind of functions this have. So functions and the characteristics and the economic factors, monies, really important variables. We usually pay attention when we buy the new product. That's actually central rules. Perry and Cassiopo assume that. So, quite a long time ago, not today, it's long time ago, relatively long time ago, not a modern society. Most of the users and customers, based on the central rules, they change their attitude and behavior. But today, a lot of user and audience focus on more emotional sides. Based on the appearance, design, how looks, and how fancy, and it's how much comfortable right here, and how well it works, how looks, how much really look great, and colors and designs, and the functions. A little difference, right? So central rules is more focused on that kind of things. Functions of this is more focused on the design and more other emotional. It's not so important in traditional society. But today, I don't know which one is more important. I think today we say design, and design is more important than the functions. The fancy is more important than how solid, how they work. So, Perry and Cassiopo suggests that by taking advantage of the two different roots, it's called the central roots and the peripheral roots, and the people process new information and then they tend to change their attitude and behaviors. Okay. Anyway, you have plenty of chance have the making relationships and the buying new products. So always through this kind of the models, central roots and peripheral roots, and probably you change your attitude and behaviors. That's Perry and Cacioppo's models, ELM models. Okay. So you have to draw that kind of diagrams and elements, central roots and peripheral roots, and understanding of the concept of the elaboration. That will be enough. And Perry and Cacioppo. That will be enough to know these models. Okay. Dual right here, right? That's definitions. Definition of the dual roles. Okay, guys. I'll give you the rest of the slides of the lecture 3 on next week, and especially 4 classic models, and also the first lecture note is about media and public opinions. That's actually chapter 4. Now we skipped the chapter 3. Chapter 4 of our readings. Okay, chapter 4 of our readings. So you have to read chapter 4 for the next Wednesday class. Next Wednesday class. Next Monday, actually, I'm thinking about one of my friends, very long-time friends, Professor Lars Villa, who is a professor in Indiana University, and also he is originator of the priming theories, which is one of the communication theories we have to learn in this class. So he will visit me next Monday afternoon. So I'll ask him to have special lecture about the priming on next Monday class, but this is not confirmed yet. So I sent the email today. I'm waiting for that. If this is confirmed, we'll have a special lecture on next Monday. Professor Lars Villa, special lecture about the priming theories. Otherwise, I know you don't want to see me. I know that, but I will have a lecture next Monday. If that doesn't work, okay? Okay, I have a couple of the video clips. It's the last part of the today. It's about the persuasion and stereotypes. It's one of the long-time and long-term and unintentional media effect. It's one of the popular term is the stereotypes. So we'll watch the video clips about stereotypes and persuasion. Okay? Probably based on the today's lecture, why don't see the persuasions? Especially this video clips is about media try to persuade by taking advantage of a lot of different techniques in the presidential elections campaigns. Okay? How media try to persuade people right here. Different techniques. The first part of the symbols, okay? They use a symbol to persuade. It's really bad. You know what hyperbole is? Exaggerations.
The largest denominations, the largest police or massive.
Largest, biggest. It's kind of exaggerations, symbols.
And higher living costs. The stakes are too high. The highest in higher oil prices, higher oil prices, higher oil prices to the highest levels.
Higher taxes, prices and skyrocketing.
There's a better man for the job. Government better. It's better than it used to be. And better. Better prepared. Best in the world. Why not there? Why not there? This is a very strong man. A strong man. He's strong enough to rebuild.
How strong? Be strong enough, be powerful enough for this kind of strength now. Be stronger every day.
And stronger.
Be the strongest nation on earth.
Strongest nation on earth.
Superpower and superpower.
Aim for the top. A great country in the first place. Our great country.
My rightful role as a leader of the free world. You know he's right. You know he's right.
This time of crisis.
These are critical times.
A robbery, a mugging, a murder. And it will get worse. So see what might happen.
The deadly arms race will be no more tomorrow.
Anti-American countries.
The communists
China has stolen our military secrets.
We held hostage, but today we live in a world of terror. Madmen and missiles.
These are the things.
Like 773,000 words.
7 million.
You know what? Number give you credibility. If you cite correct number, that's the best way to get the credibility of the information.
$200,000.
$100,000, $1,088 more, $2,072 more, $1,191 more, $2,072 more.
$7.5 billion, $2 billion, $30.7 billion, $7.1 billion, $47 billion, $300 million, $199 billion.
You know, why don't you, make a note? Actually, to get better credibility of the information, it's a three important ways, techniques, to guarantee of the credibility of the information. Right here, the first technique is numbers. Hey, you have to use numbers. You have to use the numbers. And then secondly, to guarantee the credibility of the information, the second frequently used technique is actually source. Credible source, reliable source. Like, hey, according to Professor Kim of the Korea University, that's the best way to guarantee of the information, right? So you get the reliable news source is one of the techniques to guarantee the quality of the information. And then third, my experience. You always say, hey, according to my experience, according to my observations. You cite your observation and your experience, direct experience. That's another technique to higher the quality of information. That's we call three techniques to guarantee the quality of the information. And also that's three, the techniques news reporters, journalists use frequently. Why don't you remind any news stories in the New York Times? Reporters tended to use, hey, according to interviews, right? According to conversation with the professors. They tended to cite that kind of information. And also they say, I went there and observed. That's actually one person, one person observation approaches. And also they use a lot of numbers, a lot of public opinion numbers. 95% of the people support, somebody. That's kind of a numbers. 95% of that's kind of public opinion number is really strong very strong cues to guarantee of the news stories and informations. Okay, that's 3 frequently used techniques in persuasion process by the media.
$1,000 a day, $10 million, over $10 billion.
Here is a message from Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Trust your vote. I urge you to vote for John F. Kennedy. He will be a president for all of the people.
No one has what you think about today.
Humphrey was very strong, trusted judgment.
Mr. Humphrey.
Initiative the people of this country will follow.
100% yes, sir.
I think Kennedy would be a bigger spender.
Said Kennedy's a big spender.
Kennedy's.
Oh, he's wrong on welfare. He is a very big spender. There's a better man for the job.
Says the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal says,
Saturday about constitutional.
and 6 Nobel Prize economists say,
180 economists say the press is saying they call him courageous. There's really so much about Bob Dole that people don't know.
That's why I'm supporting the president.
Plain Fox rhetorics.
Won 4 in Festival, Kansas. Won 2 Bronze Stars for heroism.
I graduated from Crystal City High School and public high school in that Missouri town. I was lucky to have
Of
support.
course not, but we've been getting to know each other. Washington's grown far too big.
middle-class families, you have a family of 4.
I swear to you.
People walk up to me with pictures of their children, moms and dads.
You know nostalgia, right? Nostalgia is another important technique.
Some said he'd never get out of bed.
He was a young Navy pilot whose commitment to country, and he returned home, again devoting himself to his country, never forgetting those heroes.
That is now a public high school in that Missouri town.
You know, a lot of presidential ads in Korea elections, you just memorize the reminder, a lot of this kind of nostalgia information actually. It's very informative and very appealing content.
Let's not tear America down.
Impose a total economic embargo to stop complaining and started reforming.
I say scrap it all and business as usual.
I propose
I've cut down
Group dynamics, crowds.
17,000 people.
More and more millions of Americans, more and more millions of Americans, more and more millions of Americans in lives of
They just tend to say
8 million.
a lot of people is part of the groups.
All these people, to every man, woman, and child,
Every family, every child, every American.
every senior.
that hurt everyone.
This is really cool, right? We.
We are we need you.
We
we need teachers.
We need a guru.
And that's what we need now.
when we ought to be really
that we can,
We can make a difference.
we have now had. That we had climate only when we have such.
We simply have the prerogative. But we've had enough. We've been getting.
We must never the way out.
We must see it.
And our tax dollars,
For our economy, for our people, and our families.
for our homes, move our lives.
Our tax code.
Ourselves.
Our history. Our history.
Protect our country.
Our defenses.
Our military.
Our program, the prostate system of ours.
They try to unite together. So one nations.
There's only one candidate for Congress.
Only one candidate, only
one candidate, only one candidate.
The only candidate is the only one with the only one.
Only Jack Campbell, only Tom Harkin is the only one who will run Democrat. Any one president, one person. Only one Republican, one candidate for just one reason. No one else, no one in this century. No other candidate. No one anywhere. Every day, every vital issue, every challenge.
Everything President Trudeau.
Do everything in my power to
Everywhere I go, everywhere I
Any
go.
place in the world.
Anywhere, anytime. Americans, the people of that country, your support. A solid candidate of future leadership.
The truth, the choice, our values.
Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it.
Vote for President.
Vote for.
Okay, guys, we all have a great classes, okay? We unite to have better courses, better classes from now on. You have to read, I'll have my best, we have good lectures. We all try to have a good classes, okay?